if you're a superintendent, you've been in like the district office for a while, stuff like that. But you really started. I don't want to say not to talk down it, but not talk down it, but from the bottom, from that sense of like really from the ground level, and you really worked your way up.
Mm-hmm.
What's that journey been like for you?
I think at the time I didn't think of how important it was.
Mm-hmm.
I was just trying to get jobs.
Right.
I had come out of school with a master's degree in counseling, and there were
Right.
no counselors in the Mount Diablo Unified District at the
Right.
time. But I think what it does is it centers you, and I believe that I always remember what it's like to be in the different positions.
Right.
So my heart's never out of the classroom.
Right.
My heart's never out of a school site. So what is it like being a secretary? What is it like being the first to greet students in the morning?
Right.
What is it like to be in the classroom with kids who may or may not want to be there that day because of whatever? And I think that's helped me all along. And so I just have always remembered, I've always kept that close. And no matter what position I had, whether it was a principal or overseeing secondary, or now even in the past few years as, working in human resources, the most important part of a school is what is happening at the school sites.
Right.
And keeping that in the foremost of our minds is the most important.
What was it like? I mean, did you ever think you'd end up in this role? I mean, and I say this because as someone who's been like number 2, number 3, something like that, for over a decade, did you ever think this was going to happen?
Actually, I'm not sure I did, because I really thought that Eric would be retiring from this district.
Okay.
And so I always just figured that we would, work through together.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but then when the opportunity arose, I'm really excited for the challenges, mm-hmm. as well as, this is, again, as I always said, this is a really positive, caring district.
Mm-hmm.
You've got employees here who care deeply about the community, mm-hmm. and care deeply about the families and community, right. and the, students, and I think that's what makes it such a good district.
You've seen students you've seen students evolve, student generations evolve throughout the last 3 decades. Mm-hmm. I mean, this group in ways is the weirdest one because of the COVID pandemic, mm-hmm. in 2020, right? And I know, like, we just graduated that class, mm-hmm. that started high school, but you still have a lot of the younger kids who went through it in middle school and such. Talk about now being, I guess one thing I want to ask, what parents and students can expect from you taking over, what they could expect. Forgive me, I'm not sure how superintendent would go about that, but also, like, considering that the current generation is still at some point now before high school, they kind of dealt with the pandemic, they dealt with remote learning, mm-hmm. and stuff like that. Talk about what the parents can expect and the challenges that you still kind of face with students because of 2020, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think what parents in the community can look forward to is just, and it's in the same as what Eric did. I have an open door policy. Mm-hmm. I want to be there for people to talk to express concerns, mm-hmm. to share joy, mm-hmm. to share some of the excitement. And I'll be on campuses, and I'll be communicating, and I'll be meeting kids and meeting, and being there for staff. I think a lot of what came out of the pandemic was we always knew it, but truly the importance of relationships, mm-hmm. and building relationships. And I think in life, it is the relationships we have with each other, right. and again with our students, that make the difference. When right. things are going great, relationships are wonderful and we take them for granted. But when things aren't going well, mm-hmm. that's when the relationships come into place. And I think that time period in COVID, that's what was lost. It was that communication. It was the face-to-face. It was the in front of you. It was the touch. Mm-hmm. It was all of the different things that happen on school campuses, right. on a daily basis, right. that was missed. You learn, whether it's simple or not, you learn socialization. You learn how to behave. You learn how to listen. You learn all those different traits. And that was what was sorely missing. Mm-hmm. And so it's just building that back. But what I do know is that the human spirit is resilient.
Right.
And so we, I just think so over time, it's just become better and better on the, on different campuses. And again, it's having that, really making sure that we put emphasis on meeting the kids, building the relationships, meeting people, greeting them, being welcoming. I mean, I think that's one of the biggest things is being welcoming and kind. And I know people say that a lot, but truly it's being welcoming and kind at every instance. It's, when you greet kids on the bus, in the morning, our bus drivers are amazing. They're the first contact with kids. When people walk in the door, how can we support you? How can we help you? That de-escalates anything. When people know you're there for them, their issues they don't feel as important to them because they know they're going to be taken care of. And then everybody kind of relaxes.
That sense of relationship building and that sense of being personal, I guess, with between both staff and between both faculty and students. Is that something you're kind of, I won't say focusing on, but is that a focus of yours as now you're taking over in that sense of encouraging that sense of relationship building with the schools and the students?
Absolutely, but it's also what Eric did. I mean, he was out and about all the time, and creating that sense of community, and just to continue that, and to really and to just to make sure it's always in the forefront, and especially district office, every avenue. When everybody comes in, I want people to feel that they're welcomed, they're supportive, and people are kind.
One thing I think parents will be very curious about is one thing that I think parents are very curious about is the topic of school safety. Last year, enough happened last year, and then granted, compared to other districts, it wasn't as much. But we have it happen in Oakley with the kid getting shot at the house party, and that kind of escalated to the campus the next day with now we know false gun threat at Heritage early last year with Carlos Hurtado and that whole situation. Your thoughts on school on the safety on the campuses, and not that it's been such a heavy topic here, but in the sense that it has kind of reared its head a little bit, especially last year. Is there anything you plan to do as far as really I don't say enforcing, but really reinforcing, I guess, the safety with especially with the high schools?
Well, toward the end of last year, we did increase the campus supervision at the different high schools, just and it'll continue on for this year. Honestly, I truly believe that some things just they pop up or maybe weren't as anticipated. Whereas I think if we start the year really focused on, okay, we know what the beginning of year start out with. You have a whole group of students who haven't been on a high school campus. They're all trying to figure out who they are, where they belong, and so there tends to sometimes be a little, like I call popcorn popping, happening. And so, what are we? How do we, be proactive and be out there? And so, really, that's one of the conversations we're going to have at our first meeting is, so let's make sure that we have a huge presence out on campus. Let's make sure administrators and even teachers we plan some fun events so that there's a reason for everybody to be out on campus, and that we have that support for students. And and we just continue what we've been doing. I think again, over time, as individuals feel comfortable and the students realize what here's the way this is going to roll, what's going to happen. I think we'll be okay. And I just think it's being aware of it and anticipating, and not just thinking, okay, here's a brand new school year, everything's, really trying to be proactive and being out there.